Squeegee and Ink podcast, episode 7, with Alex from Supreme Screen UK.
So you got your backdrop sorted?
Yeah, I did. There you go.
Is it bloody cold in there or something?
Freezing. Absolutely freezing in there.
So that's like a new premises that you're just sorting out, isn't it?
Well, we've been here for about a year actually.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, but we installed a gas dryer which takes up all the gas feed, so we can't actually install any heating. So the engineers came in and decided that we didn't have enough of a gas line in, enough, whatever it was. Anyway, they couldn't run more than the dryer on it, so we just got to suck it up and
hope that the heat from the heaters when they're on, it warms you up. That's like encouragement.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Encouragement to get your jobs done.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So, like, can you tell me about your team there and like what your day to day is like?
So there's 5 of us here.
All right.
5 of us. 3 of them only actually joined us last quarter. Actually, I say last quarter now. We're in February now, aren't we? So around October time. For a long time, it was just me and my sister, just cracking the jobs out, really. But yeah, day to day is it was absolutely mental before Christmas. We just had a crazy quarter, and then these latest restrictions came in, and everything just
really.
So yeah, it's weird. We do a lot of stuff like touring bands and things like that, and events. We do a lot of promo tote bags for events and stuff. So as soon as there's any talk of restriction, just everything just kind of drops off a cliff, really. So
Yeah.
I mean, we still had a busier January than I think ever, but I think because we got so busy at the end of last year, it's just it just feels like a fraction of what I mean. It's January anyway, so January's generally quieter, but yeah, hopefully it'll start picking up. Get this COVID gone, man.
I know. Well, today he just said this afternoon, because we're filming in the future, but what is it now? The Wednesday, the 9th of February. So like he's just announced today the fact that they're getting released completely, but I think it's now just energy prices. It's like, oh yeah, here's COVID, we're going to take like ease that off you, but then we're going to put energy on you, and I think that's putting quite a bit of fear in the public.
Yeah, well, prices of everything. I am literally getting emails every week right now with blanks going up, inks going up, just everything all the time. And then my problem is I haven't adjusted our prices at all through all of this since last year. So because every time I go to sit down and kind of work everything out, you're like, another price increase comes, and you're just like, oh. And so
you have to be like a full-on accountant to figure this shit out.
It's nuts, and I just don't want to be upping my prices every 5 minutes to my customers, So I'm trying to hold on as long as I can, but I think we're pretty much hitting a point at the moment where everything's gone up so much that we're pretty much just breaking even, I think. So and it's I noticed the other day some blanks gone up so much that we're actually losing money on them. So I was just like,
oh no, this is tomorrow morning. That is definitely worth just taking the horrendous day and looking at it.
I already started on it today, and I was like, I was just looking at how much stuff's gone up. It's crazy.
I know nothing can prepare us for like this type of price increase across the board, but I found like when I've been putting my prices up for things, no one blinks. Like there isn't this reaction. People don't pull back and say, oh, I completely don't. It's completely justified, and it's happening everywhere. So you can put yours in as well, because otherwise it's doing that, what you just said. It's like eating you, and then you can't serve long term. So
yeah, that's it.
It's so hard. So you just talked about like the quarter. Is that like how frequently you kind of like analyze all that type of cash flow, or?
Not usually. I think the last quarter that we had, so our financial year starts in beginning of September. So September, October, and November. When we got to the end of November, we actually busiest than we'd ever been. So we turned over more in that quarter than any entire year I've ever been in business. I guess some of it is probably just because, you know, all of a sudden people were starting to get back into stuff and everybody's just going nuts, going, yeah, let's just hit it again, you know. So I would imagine that some of it was that. Some of it was new clients and things, you know, that I'd worked on relationships throughout COVID and things that, you know, stuff started to come to fruition and whatnot. But yeah, but generally, no, I don't usually. In the past, I've always been happy to just be a couple of us, rock up at 9 o'clock, you know, do the jobs and go home, you know.
Yeah.
But I think as you start growing and things get busier and more work comes in, it's harder to do that. So I think in that quarter, I was back to working 7 days a week, coming in at 4 a.m., going home at 10 o'clock at night. 4 a.m. I am not kidding you,
Alex.
I was a dead man walking.
That's not funny. And you've got a family and stuff, haven't you? So
yeah, it was honestly, it was mental. And at the time in September, it was still just two of us. And she was off sick for one of those weeks as well. And I was like, oh my goodness, just trying to get the work done. So yeah, by the time we got to October, November, I took on a couple more guys, and yeah, it's all right actually. It's I just find it really strange because I've always just done everything, you know. So trying to sit back and
like it's awkward, isn't it? It makes your organs tense up watching someone do something that you think you could do.
yeah, it's so hard. And I think, and I'm such a softie as well, that telling people what to do I actually find really hard. So for me, that's a massive learning curve right now. Just trying to
fire your first person and then it'll be really easy. And then you're like you know, you're just like I don't know, it's funny. And then you might like harden up a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
Your studio looks so clean. Look how shiny that floor is. I'm envious of it.
Man. Yeah, I repainted it over Christmas. So I love things to be clean and tidy. Like, I hate mess. And just to the end of last year, just the place was chaos. And so I just took a couple of days when we finished everything off for Christmas, said to all the guys, right, go finish a couple of days early. I just came in and I just painted the floors and just chilled out a bit, you know.
I think that's why I thought you'd move to a new premises, because like online, if you're looking you up, you've kind of got that one where you're up against the shop window.
Okay, yeah.
Photos like that. And then I saw you doing like spraying all the walls. So I thought, oh, right, it's just gone into a new unit. So yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, that was not last October before. So yeah, just every year we've been here. So but yeah, I think through COVID, because everything went so dead, and that's when we moved. And just after we bought our new press and everything, and so everything just went quiet. So I just stopped spending money on the place then, you know. It's like, it's just, don't have it, you know. So so just waited really, and then you know, started doing more then at the end of last quarter, just because we had a bit more money, you know. And I just like a nice, tidy, clean place, you know.
Yeah,
it just makes it much nicer to work in, you know.
I completely agree. Like, there's nothing that would annoy me more than printing like, you know, 4-color front and back or something like that, and then the sleeve just scuffing on a bit of red ink on the back. It's not happening. I'm not wasting shirts on like stuff that's preventable like that. It's crazy. That's definitely part of what we do, like clean down and then you finish the job. But I know it's easier said than done when you're actually in production. I wanted to talk to you about like the way you present on like Instagram and stuff, and I like the way how you're very like honest, and your family comes up a lot, and it's kind of like really real, like as a small business person. Because like I read that one post that you did, and it was like talking quite openly about like you're relatively scared about what's going to happen. You're like saying in the description, I'm not sure what's going to happen. This is everything's just turning off. And I saw that some other people reached out, but yeah, I just think that a lot of the time on Instagram, people do a lot of corporate stuff and they don't show themselves, but you're kind of like the opposite.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's just how I am in everyday life, really. I've always been just really open. I'll talk to you about anything. I'll talk to you about what I earn, how good or how bad the business is going. I think, you know, I think as people, especially in the UK, we're so stiff, you know. we're so afraid to share personal stuff. But I've always found in life, when you make yourself vulnerable, you know, and you're honest, like, just relationships grow so much faster because people are not afraid to then tell you where they're at. Because, you know, I think, yeah, so many of us are so insecure, I guess, you know, and afraid of people's reactions or what people might say, or whether we're doing well, or whether we're not doing well, or whatever. And whereas I've always just been like, this is me, this is my life, this is how it is. It's you know, things are great right now, things are not great right now, and you know, everybody goes through it, whether or not we admit it, you know. So yeah, I've always just been really open, you know, about what I'm learning, you know. And it's same with sharing knowledge and things, you know. If I learn something new, I'll happily put it up on Insta, and you know, because I just think, you know, when I started out printing, you know, I only started 10 years ago. Yeah, 10 years ago. I just couldn't find anything, you know, anywhere, you know, apart from, you know, what's his face from Ryanette, you know, like,
I know. Like, we started at the same time, I think.
Oh, did you?
But different ends of the scale. Did you start a t-shirt printing from the start?
Yeah. I think I started in 10 years ago. Yeah, 2012. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a few floating around, wasn't there? But it wasn't like you're trying to look something up, and then you're like, you haven't shown me. You've just shown me this bloody ink that I can't get my hands on anyway because it's in America. Yeah, I know. There is a frustration there.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I'm all about just sharing what I've learned. I don't think there's point being scared of somebody stealing your business. You know, I just think, you know, your customers work with you because they like you, because you know, because of the way you work, and if they don't, they'll, you know, if they're penny pinchers, you know, and they want to go somewhere else for, you know, 10 quid, then fine, go somewhere else then. That's fine by me, you know. I'd rather you want to work with me because of who I am and the quality that I produce, really. So but yeah, so all about being open, and with my family as well. You know, my family, you know, I got 5 kids, so, and 2 mental dogs. But yeah, I just think that's what life's all about, really, isn't it? You know, it's like that's the reason I do this, is so that I can provide for them and I can raise my family, you know. So yeah, all about that. It's the good stuff, man.
Yeah, it's also there is like a psychological thing where if you feel like you've helped someone genuinely, then you feel like a closer bond to them and you want them to succeed a bit more. So like asking questions and trying to get help from people actually allows that kind of like relationship to build in the first place, I think. Yeah, that's a lot of kids, 5 kids.
Yeah,
I'm one of 7, so I know what that situation at home is like. Thankfully not the dogs, but I could just like swap them in for brothers that I had running around.
I would swap our dogs for kids any day, man. Dogs are a nightmare.
Are any of those like triplets or twins or anything, or is it just no,
just one after the other? And all with the same woman. That's usually the question I get asked first. With the same woman? I'm like, yeah, the same woman.
At school I used to get asked like, oh, did your parents not have a TV? And I'm like, fuck off. That's the most disgusting thing I want. Stop it. I hate that.
Yeah, get that one a lot.
I know, that's minging. So can you see like you building this business? Like, I know you're saying you want to supply for your family and stuff, but have you got like an end goal for how large you want to get, or is expansion the key, or handing over a business?
To be honest, I think a lot of the time I'd walk away tomorrow if I could. You know, I think it's like, I don't know. I mean, like, I think I'm fairly good at a lot of the stuff that I do, but like when I first started, I was like, my goal was always just to be the best that I could be. You know, it was never to make a fortune, and still isn't really. It was just, I wanted to be able to print a full color print and do the separation myself. That was my goal, you know.
Yeah.
It was I never set out to print shirts and turn it into a business, really. And it just happened because I was playing in a band at the time and we needed some merch, and so I set up in the basement, you know. And so I've never really had a goal as such. I'm not a business person. I'm just a creative guy in business, you know. I think that's why I say I'm a bit too soft, you know, for this sort of stuff, really, when it comes to the business side of things. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I definitely don't want to do it forever. You know, I don't want to be pushing squeegees till I'm 65. You know, there's other things in life that I want to explore and I want to try. And but I think at the same time, I do need to make a living, and at the moment I couldn't imagine doing anything else really.
Do
So
you think you're unemployable now?
say again.
Do you think you're a bit unemployable with your like mindset now, like making your own money and stuff? Well, not there's not making your own money being employed, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I have thought about it a lot because, especially through COVID, actually, there was a couple of points where we were like a week away from just going under. And at one point, actually, I even had a deal in place with a larger company who were just going to buy us out and just employ me as their production manager and take on the staff. And
wow.
And at the last minute, I pulled out because I was like, I've put 10 years into this, and then to just give it away, I'd have made nothing on it. It would have just literally paid off the machines, and I'd just then be employed by someone else, But I just wasn't ready for it, and I'm still not ready to walk away yet. But yeah, that's one of the biggest things is I don't know if I could work for somebody else. I have thought a lot about it.
That's brave for you to even either way, whatever you did in that situation, it's like brave to like take that decision head on, and you have to do a lot of soul searching, don't you? That's probably why you're I think so. I think, see, I'm not very money driven. I've never been money driven. Money to me is just a tool, so I think a lot of time when I make decisions when it comes to money, it's not money that makes a decision for me, if you know what I mean. I think for me it was more the fact that I put so much into it and I didn't want to lose it on such a downer, if you know what I mean. Like if I'd lost it because I made stupid decisions or whatever, then fair enough. But because it was something COVID was completely out of everyone's control, I think I just I just didn't want to just see it go in those circumstances, I guess, But I definitely want to do other things. One of the things that I've been thinking about the last couple of years is going to train to be a paramedic. Cool.
Just because, I don't know, I print shirts every day and there's not a lot of purpose to it. Do you know what I mean?
I know, I do know what you mean. Yeah.
People are happy with a great job, and it means that small brands can make money or bands and talk can make money. But I don't know. I can't help but feeling sometimes I'm like, I just want to do something that I really feel like is helping people, But that's, I've got plenty of time. I'm only 34, so I've got lots of life ahead of me, hopefully. So so for now the focus is to just be the best printer I possibly can, most eco-friendly I can, and just hopefully delight customers, as Warren Buffett would say, delight your customer.
The most impressive thing about your page, and when I was like talking to getting you on, it's like you do the most difficult colorful jobs, and I know you have an auto, but most of that is down to the color separations and like maintaining all the color levels and making it really vivid. And I can see that you're trying to work with like Magna colors and stuff and you're just making a lot of choices in your printing and not just whacking it on the shirt. So can you talk me through like where, like, have you always been into like water-based, or are you transitioning, or you do both? Or
well, water-based. So I think I was probably about 3 years into printing when I decided that I wanted to start working with water-based. But at the time, I didn't even know there was a difference until Virus came along. So I don't know if you know much about Virus inks, but at the time, Dave Roper was selling Virus. He started talking about this new ink that was coming out. It's water-based. It's much easier to clean. Blah blah blah. So at the time, I don't know, I put about $1,000 into buying, the pigments and the bases and stuff. I was like, this is amazing. We're going to become a fully water-based shop now. It's, blah, blah, blah. And then I started doing some prints and I was like, oh, crap.
Yeah, you got burned.
Yeah. Oh, painfully burned, man. And so, and ever since, it's been like this thorn in my side that I'm just like, I've always wanted to master. Like, I think that's what drives me most in running a business is a challenge, as I say, not money, but a challenge, to nail that, to do it. And so anyway, after about 6 months of just having a horrendous time with Virus, because we had a little 6 color at the time, and just trying to, really with that water base at the time, you had to flash after every color, but nobody told me that. Nobody taught me that. You know, there was no information anywhere. So I'm here going, why on earth can't, you know, are my prints sticking so much?
Am I thick? I know what you mean. You're like on a little island, and then there's the pressure, isn't there, of the customer and everything. It's like, it's like being on a travelator, like going towards the customer and you haven't got the job done in time. But
100%. So anyway, I gave up on virus. And just went back to printing plastisol. Started doing some stuff with discharge underbase and, you know, plastisol top, getting all right, nice prints, but it's just still plastisol, you know, it still has that feel, you know, no matter how soft you say it is, and it is, it's not, it doesn't feel like water-based, you know. So anyway, I left it for a long time. Then a bunch of stuff happened. We moved from where we lived in Manchester back home to Wales, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, long story short, last year we bought a big gas dryer and the a new MHM, and
that
that's
makes a big difference. The gas dryer, having like, I'm trying to do water-based paste on a tiny little dryer, and I'm like, I'm sure this isn't it. I'm sure this isn't the way. And then you're heat pressing stuff, but you haven't got that. How do you get past that bit where with Plusol you could do a couple of tests, see if it's cured? But how do you test whether water base is cured apart from?
Well, it depends on what you're using. So like, so we now use a lot of Magna. Magna is probably what we use the most. We use Aquaflex V2. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I've got some.
So Aquaflex V2, I love it because it's like when you know, if you're setting up a hoodie job, for example, like today we printed some hoodies. I put them up on our story actually. Some purple hoodies with a bright yellow print. So to print that with plastisol, you got to make sure that, I mean, you got to make sure your pallets are warm anyway, whether you're printing with water-based or plastisol. But with plastisol, you really have to make sure that your pallets are warm enough so that you can warm that plastisol ink. So especially in a, you know, a premises like ours right now, like it's so cold. Pick up plastisol, it's like flipping stone, like, you know, you're like, it's like you could crack it on the wall, you know. And so you have to really get that soft enough so that when you print it, obviously it doesn't rip your hood off the pallet, and it, you know, it doesn't end up smudging because you're hitting so much pressure and, you know, flipping stretching the mesh or whatever. Whereas with V2, it's not that at all. It's just a double stroke, and it's like, it's not stiff. It runs really, you know, really easily. The only thing I find with V2 is that you've got to be careful with it will sometimes stick if you haven't got enough V2 in your screen. So one of the things I've realized is that when you don't have enough, see, with plastisol you can get away with it. It doesn't matter because it doesn't dry.
Running out of ink.
So if with plastisol, if you're running out of ink on the screen, it doesn't matter as long as you've got some stuck to your squeegee, a little bit stuck to your flood bar. You can push it.
You should have seen how far I push that sometimes. You're like scraping it out of the tub and then scraping it off the spatula because that's the rest. And then you're like, there's another squeegee over there that's got a little bit. I'll just scrape it off of that as well. I know what you mean by that, but yeah, keep telling us about water-based though.
Yeah, so with water-based, it's not as easy as that. You can't push it in the same way, because if you're not completely flooding your screen, then it's starting to dry up, and so the ink starts getting thicker. So as you print, the ink will then just stick to your garment, and it'll pull. It'll kind of, you know, how the screen just goes pop, you know. So it ends up doing that. But as long as you keep enough, you know, ink on your screen. So I will put probably 3 kilograms of V2 on a screen, you know, and I'll have a nice thick, you know, just chuck it on there and just have a nice thick flood, and it just runs. Then it just runs and runs and runs. It's really good. But anyway, why did we get onto that? What was I saying? My ink journey, wasn't it?
Yeah, just like, what have you landed on now? Like, would you say that you reach for the most?
So yeah, definitely Magna is what we go for the most. And it's just, so having the dryer, you know, it will just, it'll say on your tech sheets or whatever when you buy the ink, you know, cure this ink at 1.5 minutes for, you know, at this temperature or whatever. But V2 is quite similar to plastisol. You can give it a bit of a stretch test. It's actually a lot. It cures a lot faster actually than like, say for example, HB. Have you used the HB range?
Nope.
So Magna HB is like a more translucent version of V2 is probably the best way to put it. So we use HB on anything light. So if we're printing light t-shirts or we're printing tote bags, most tote bags that we print are natural cotton.
Yeah.
So it's really easy for that. Like Pantone mixing is just so much easier than plastisol. It's not necessarily as accurate color-wise. Sometimes I find we have to do a lot of tweaking.
You can't take a drop back though, can you, Alex?
You're
like, get a straw or something and dress.
Yeah. Or tissue. Just grab a tissue and just try.
Should do the tissue, not the straw.
Yeah. That's it. Dab it and just let it kind of soak up. But no, what we tend to do actually with mixing our Pantones is, so when you get your recipe out, so usually it'll have your bases. So it'll say, if you're printing Aquaflex or HB, it'll say HB opaque and then HB neutral. Then it'll tell you the biggest amount of pigment. So it might be red HB, for example, 4 grams. So you put 4 grams of it or whatever. And then as it goes down the list, you get less and less.
Like,
so usually,
That's
it. Yeah. So when you get to say your black, that if you need to add a little bit of black into say your red to just make it a little bit darker, whatever it is, what I tend to say to the guys is don't put the black in. Mix the color together before you add the black. So anything that's a dark color on the end, I always say don't put it in, mix the color, see where it's at. If it looks like it needs to go a little bit darker, rather than putting in the 1.5 grams that it says, just put a drop in, mix it, put a drop in, mix it, put a drop in, mix it. And actually it saves a lot of time in the long run, and saves a lot of ink, because
you can kill the colors like that.
And the thing is it's really hard to come back from being too dark. Really, really hard. Depends on the color, obviously, depends on what's going on, but it's very, very difficult to come back from going too far. It can be done, but you end up just flipping 1.5 kilograms instead of 200 grams, So a lot of time when that happens, it's because we don't actually save our colors, our water-based colors, like we do with plastisols. So what we do is we usually, as I say, most of the stuff we print is HB. So we'll print a job, whatever's left over, we chuck it in a pot, we mix it all together, add a bit of black pigment to it, and that becomes our black ink then. So it saves wasting the inks, and always means you've got black to hand, because black is probably what we print the most of on tote bags,
That's very interesting. That's like over dyeing shirts when they do that in the factories. You just like
basically
turn it all black.
It's clever. And it works really well because we wouldn't necessarily use that black for some sort of high-end fashion t-shirt or whatever, but yeah, for like tote bags that just need a black print, doesn't matter. Nobody washes tote bags. Nobody's going to look at the black color and go, oh, it's it's just a good way to stop waste, I guess. So yeah, water-based is something that we're trying to move more over to, but it is difficult. So Aquaflex we use, so if we've got a multicolor spot, like say you've got a big spot red and a big spot blue going on a black shirt, then obviously you've got to print your white underbase, then you've got to flash it and then print your first color, but then you've got to flash it again and then print your second color. So for us, we can get away with printing 2 colors plus an underbase because we've got 2 flashes on the auto. So but anything above that, then we have no choice but to switch to plastisol at the moment, because we don't have a big enough press and enough flashes. So in that case, we might print killer base, Magna killer base, with plastisol on top, or just a plastisol underbase and then plastisol on top. Because the thing is with plastisol, you can, if you absolutely have to, you can send it around the press twice, and it doesn't matter, other than it takes longer. Obviously you'd rather do everything in one hit and round once and be like, yeah, I'm a hero, but it doesn't always work that way. So, but you can't do that with water-based because it just dries and it gets sticky. And so
I know, I think it is a challenge, but I do appreciate the effect. I'll send you one of my water-based shirts and you can analyze it as a little present. But yeah, I know it's tricky. Also, then there's some like other variables in there, like with discharge prints and stuff. And you think again, oh, okay, I've nailed this discharge ink and the curing, and then a random garment comes up and it just throws it all off again. So
it's really frustrating actually with discharge. It's because I love it actually. So with our bag work, any color bags, we always just print discharge, because I don't know if do you print tote bags much?
Yeah, but I haven't really thought about discharging them regardless
so
of what color they are.
Well, the reason that we discharge them is because tote bags tend to shrink on press. So once you hit them with a color, they just shrink, and so it can be really hard to get an underbase and then a flash and then your colors on top without a bit of underbase showing, unless you go for a bigger stroke, bigger choke, basically. But you want to be careful how big a choke you go for, because otherwise you just end up with a blurry edge, looking print. So we started experimenting with discharge. And yeah, pretty much every color bag we print now, we print with Magna Print ABAW discharge. It's just so fast. You don't need an underbase. Whack it through the gas dryer, and it's cheaper actually. I think our discharge cost us about half the price of V2. I've been trying to work out the prices with these recent increases, but yeah, it literally costs us about half the price to print with discharge. So, but at the same, and we get people asking for discharge with clothes and stuff, but I'm finding that discharging clothes is just becoming harder and harder, because you just the discharging is not working as well, so it depends. I mean, if somebody wants a Gildan, I'll say, yeah, okay, we can discharge it as long as you are happy for a bit of color variation. But we don't really print a lot of Gildan stuff anymore. A lot of stuff we print these days is Stanley Stella, AS Color, stuff like that. And that stuff, saying that, AS Color discharge okay. We did one last week, I think it was.
Have you found like the Stanley Stella stuff has that kind of like silicone layer on it, like silicone-y? I've been talking to Magna about it, and they were like, yeah, it is quite difficult because they've got added softeners and things on the garments.
It just turns brown. So if you print a white discharge print, it looks like this. Like,
I know. I was like, I was on the thing with Magna. I was like, is this what you're supposed to be getting and stuff? It's so tricky to find out whether it's you or the system. But yeah.
No, if a customer comes along wanting Stanley Stella and they want a white discharge print, I just say, look, just go with Aquaflex, just go with water-based. And so generally that is what we do. But then we also use Virus. So Virus, I absolutely love. Virus is amazing. It's not very popular over here. Hardly anybody uses it. But
are you saying Virus? Because earlier you were saying Virus. You moved away from Virus.
Yeah, so I did move away from Virus,
and then you came back.
Yeah, so I shall continue.
Are we hating Virus? Are we loving Virus?
No, I absolutely love Virus. So I stayed away from Virus, and then as I say, last year when we got the dryer, that's when I bought some more Virus, and then I bought the Magna stuff.
Okay.
So the Virus rewind. The Virus wet on wet system. So it's the whole idea basically is you print your underbase, you flash it, you print another underbase, you flash it, so then you've got super bright underbase. And then the idea is that you print every other color wet on wet, because when that color goes down, it instantly dries, so it is touch dry. So if you print the first color, then you touch it and no ink comes off in your hand,
Wow.
So that means no ink builds up on the bottom of every other screen. So you could print 5 colors after your white underbases with no ink buildup whatsoever, so your dots stay perfect. Like they're just everything's really crisp. But the problem is always a freaking problem. Like, so the problem is our MHM has honeycomb palettes, and the idea with the wet on wet inks is they've got to hold temperature, but the honeycomb palettes are designed to dissipate heat really quickly.
Oh, I see.
So I'm in this absolute mirror of a position at the moment where I bought all this Virus inks. I've been going back and forth with them for like the last year. They are incredible at color separations. So I'm like all excited. Yeah, man, I'm gonna print mainly for Virus for all my for my high detail work and everything. Then started running the jobs and started running into those issues then, because by the time you've printed your underbase, your flash, your underbase, you print your next color and your next color. After that, you can't print wet on wet anymore because the palettes are cooled down too much. So at the moment, I'm experimenting with rubber.
Yeah, I was about to say that you could put like toppers on your platens or something.
Yeah, so I've been doing a bit of experimenting, and it seems to be holding temperature, but I haven't yet spent out on the rubber for all 12 t-shirt palettes. It's like $1,000 to buy the rubber and get it over here, So I've been experimenting with just a spare sleeve palette that I have, and just doing tests on how much the temperature holds and everything. But I think for all my full color process stuff, if I was able, I think I would use Virus for all of that, because so I do most of my color separations in house. The only reason I wouldn't do it is if I'm too busy.
Like what program do you use and stuff?
So I use Photoshop and Separation Studio. So it depends on what the art is, depends on what it is I'm trying to do. So sometimes I'll just go all the way in separation in Photoshop. Sometimes I'll never usually go all the way in Separation Studio, but I might just open it, just get it to very quickly separate out my underbase and all my main colors, and then open it in Photoshop and carry on from there. So it depends on how much I think I need to do. But Virus, they have this CMYK process system. Don't know if you know of it, but it's basically CMYK and whites. So traditionally, you would look at like a full color, process piece, and you go, I would never print that CMYK because you can't get the colors, but Virus can. So they are absolutely amazing. And because
I have to look that up because everyone's got their own Pantone mixing system and stuff like that, but their own CMYK and white, that's pretty impressive, isn't it?
So basically what it means is you send it to them for €40, they'll do a color separation for you, which will include 2 white underbases, CMYK. They send it back to you. They tell you, what mesh counts to use and blah, 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 blah. And then you only ever use the same 4 colors plus your white, so you never have to mix Pantone colors. And the results are the best I've ever seen. Like they're amazing. But just frustratingly, I just cannot run it with my palettes at the moment. So, and I have tried and I have tried and I have tried.
So many variables, aren't there? It's just like every time you upgrade a bit of kit, you're actually throwing the whole ecosystem off. And then you're trying to improve something, and then that has like loads of ramifications across the whole board.
Yeah. It's just a nightmare. But Magna do a similar version to their wet on wet system, which is called Edge. I think it's what you've got to be careful of, obviously, is how quickly the stuff dries on screen. Then, so I've not tried the Edge stuff.
Because it's another grand. So you got to fix this one first.
Yeah. So, but Virus definitely worth having a look at. I think this stuff is amazing, and it's even great for spot color stuff. So we have done some jobs that, you print your 2 white underbases, you flash it, and then you can just print your spot colors on top. Whereas obviously with Aquaflex, the problem we have is we've got to flash after each of those colors, which you don't have to with the Virus wet on wet system. So, but the downside is obviously you're having to have that then shipped from over in Europe, so you've got extra costs and things like that. But I just think that for full color work, the cost is worth it.
Especially if that's what you're getting known for, and that's what people are seeing and going to you with. And
I think the other thing as well is, with me now taking on staff and trying to grow a little bit, the whole point of it is that I can remove myself from the process and be able to take a week off for the first time in 10 years or whatever, but if I'm the only one that does separations, then it's never going to happen. So I'm starting to kind of outsource some separations now, just to try and so that I don't, because it takes years to learn that stuff, so I'm not going to get in a member of staff and spend ages and ages trying to teach them how to do a 6 color separation when I can just pay somebody else to that's it. So but with the Virus, you just, everything's the same. There's no variables. It's always the same squeegee angle. It's always the same hardness of squeegee. It's always the same mesh counts. It's and it's you send it to them, they send it back, and so it means that staff can whack it on press, and it's just going to be a banging job. Like the reds are incredible. It's just like it looks like a spot color red, but it's great. But as I say, I've got to figure out a way to be able to run it properly. Perhaps a bigger press and an extra flash or something. I don't know.
You're talking about like your team and stuff. Like the people that apply to come and work here, like we get a lot of applications just because we're on Instagram and stuff. But they're not, like, I can tell that they're not the kind of right people that we're attracting. I'm not in the situation that you are, where we're like a bigger production situation. We're a bit more different. But how do you filter out people who just think this is like an arty environment to get into? They did art at school and they think they're going to be good at this. And how do you like, how do you kind of like, because this is manufacturing really, isn't it? It's a cool environment, but it is still manufacturing, and there isn't, like, we're not asking your artistic opinion that much to produce a shirt, but people feel like if they come from an arty background, then they're going to have freedom of creativity, but that's not it. Like how have you found like attracting the right staff or filtering them out? Or
I have no idea.
Just like
I am this is the first time I've ever done it, and I'm learning as I'm going. So I think definitely probation periods are good, 100%. I've definitely let's just put it this way, I've learned some lessons, some hard lessons. So
are there any you can tell us about or not? Probably not. No, it's okay.
I just think that I don't know. I think it's really easy to be, here's an example. So we had one person apply, and he was super enthusiastic, and like we were only speaking on email at first. He replied to an ad with his CV or whatever it was, and he couldn't come along to an interview that I was trying to sort out with him. He couldn't come along because he had some gig or something. So he's like, cool guy who's in the music industry, blah blah blah, and you could tell by his language he's really confident, etc etc. Anyway, after a bit of back and forth, it just turned out he was kind of making excuses and whatnot, because he was meant to come for an interview, but the day before I had another guy come for an interview who was a lot younger, a lot more shy, turned up early, didn't ask me with the address or anything. He just turned up early, very polite, had his mask on, everything, chatted away, and I thought, oh, this, he's a really nice guy. He seems, quite confident. He seems really interested in what we're doing. He's got seems to have a bit of a head on him. Then the following day, this other guy was meant to come, who's, really, just really confident. And so for me, I was quite excited about this other guy, because I was like, yeah, he seems like somebody who really will fit in, kind of looks the part, covered in tattoos and, all that typical screen printer look. Do you know what I mean?
It's our age group though. It's not the older ones.
That's true. Yeah. So anyway, long story short, he ended up going to our old premises, and he didn't call me. He just sent me an email to say, I think I'm outside, but it looks like you're not there, So got back in touch and said, oh, no problem. This is our address. You must have found an old address online or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So he said, so I said, just come on up now anyway. It doesn't matter that you're late. But he was like, no, I've got to go for family emergency now. And, it's just like,
it's kind of like, it sounds like dating when you're when you're like 19. It's like, sorry, are we doing this or not? That's really funny.
100%.
But then, that's like 3 excuses. It doesn't matter how cool you are. If you're using words like, oh, just, or this is like an unusual circumstance, it's like, it never is. It's like with people in any way, it's like the rush orders that we get, that person isn't under some unusual circumstances. It's a rush order with them every time, any time of the year, any size of job. It's always going to be like that. Filtering them out is difficult, but also spotting it. You have to be burnt a few times, I think.
Yeah, and that's it. And I think, so my thing would be like, it's very easy rather to, I think, be charmed, and think you're looking for one thing when you're not. So anyway, long story short, I emailed him back and I said, no worries, mate, position's filled. I gave it to the quiet boy who turned up the day before, and he's amazing. The guy is, he's great. He's already doing all of our basic separations. He's all, he cleans all the screens. He makes all the screens. So he does the whole pre-press process by himself already. He's only been here 2 months. So
nice.
I think, but I would never have imagined that, you see. And so that's just why it's just so hard. I think if maybe just a probation period is probably the most important thing, where you're not tied to anything, because you can have somebody turns up and they're useless, as
I didn't know that, by the way. I thought that everyone had a general level of coordination. They don't. Like, I've seen people like, you're at I've got a little embroidery machine. Well, it's not a little, it's just got one little embroidery machine. And I'm like, I can sew, like, set it all up, put the needle through all the things, and I'm like, okay, it's done. And then I was teaching someone how to do it, and it was like watching, I don't know, so like it was infuriating. And I was like, I can't employ you because you've just spent 5 minutes threading one thing, and then you're asking me whether you've done it right. And it's like, I have got this level of patience, and to them, they don't realize how impatient I am in my head, but I know. I feel like part of the job interview should be like, can you catch this ball? And you just like throw it at them, and if they can catch it, then they're one step closer. I don't know.
It's good. Just good. I might have to implement that.
Yeah, I think we need some tests. Like we need to build up a few of these tests by talking to each other, and different screen printers. Because yeah, hand-eye coordination and just a little bit of problem solving. That's why I wanted to bring them to an escape room, but all the escape rooms were closed because of COVID. Imagine just viewing them on that monitor. And you're like, they were just like arguing and battling, and yeah, then you'd see the proper problem solvers coming to the top. Because yeah, it's very different.
So some people are good with their head and not with their hands. So you know, doesn't solve everything, does it? Like what we need is a special screen printer test.
Yes, I know. We'll work on it together. It must be like a short thing, something to do like hula hoops and juggling, and I don't know, but yeah, I'd rather have someone with hand-eye coordination rather than book smarts.
Yeah, definitely 100%.
So who do you kind of like, because you said you're working the studio with your sister? Is she just like a business partner, or is she in there, or like?
No, she's just worked for me for a long time. So she actually joined me a couple of years after I started. So she's been with me 8 years this year, but she's leaving in July.
Oh God.
Yeah, flipping husband knocked her up, and so she's gonna go be a stay-at-home mum. Like what's that? So yeah, so she will be sorely missed. She's she's just always done my screen stuff really. Yeah, but what was the question? Yeah, no, she's not. She's just an employee. She's an employee.
I see.
But yeah, no, she's great. I will miss her when she's gone. She's a good little worker. I think
what I'm trying to ask is like, how do you make decisions for like the business and things, like even strategy wise, little things like how do you figure out strategies for marketing, or that whole decision you made with not selling off? Like, do you have anyone to talk to, or any mentor people, or?
No, not really. I just go home and whinge at the wife, really. That's
okay.
Yeah. And then she just goes, yes, love, yes, love. No, I don't. I would say I'm not a business person. I've never written a business plan. I just don't think that way. I just kind of, maybe I should. Maybe I'd have a much bigger business if I, used a bit of business sense. I don't know.
It might be smaller.
Yeah,
might
maybe.
be smaller.
I don't know. I think the truth is I just don't care. I just want to come and do what I enjoy doing, for as long as I can do it, or yeah, I don't know. I don't have any good wisdom or advice really. Just crack on.
I definitely cracked on for a long time, and then I read an absolute shit ton of books on business, and it's very addictive because you're like, oh my God, I'm so pumped up about this new like idea. And for a lot of things it did help us, like even seemingly obvious things, like not just taking on every single job and getting led into all these different print methods, and I think I could do that. I could buy a little bit of kit to service that one job. It's that kind of reactionary thinking, which I've managed to get away from, I think. But I saw on your website, you said something like, we don't do sublimation and vinyl anymore because now we're in love with screen printing. But do you think they were distractions at some point, or?
Yeah. So actually, probably 7 years ago, I used to do everything. Vinyl banners, car wrapping.
Yeah, me too. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, how did you realize that might not be the best option?
I got sick of it. I just didn't enjoy doing it. Like, it's just Like, I think what I've always loved about screen printing is that it is a creative process, you know. Whereas printing business cards isn't. It's just file print, stick them through the cutter, file print, you know. It's just like, it's just. So I just got really bored of it more than anything. And so I started out screen printing, and I just realized, and not only that, it's screen printing. It made more money as well. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed it more. It gave better returns. So yeah, I just kind of just got rid of everything else now. And people still ask us, you know, can you do this for me? I just say, nah, we're just screen printers. I think for a long time I got sucked into that. Oh, yeah, okay, let's buy a machine for this, buy a machine for that. Whereas now, if there's any money to be spent, it's always about making a better quality product. So at the moment, I'm considering my next steps for direct to screen, and my next steps for a bigger press, or should I put in a mezzanine floor so that we've got more space? Should I, am I interested in hybrid or DTG stuff? That is all very relevant to what we're already doing, but is DTG I'm just not so keen on, really. So I probably will never go down that route, to be honest.
Skip over it, probably. I'm not touching it ever, but
yeah, it's definitely a different ball game. Hybrid I'm really interested in, but that's because of the customer base that we serve,
and it works with water-based inks and all the stuff that you know about anyway.
Yeah, that's it. But the cost is insane. It's just crazy cost, hybrids. So but yeah, so now if it's spending any money, it's just to be better at what we do, really. And I'm not afraid of spending money. I'd rather put money into having better gear and putting a better quality product out than putting it in my pocket, really, because that's what I get more joy from, seeing the print and going, that is sick, that's banging, I'd rather do that than pay myself an extra $5,000 or whatever, because it's money doesn't really make you happy, does it? It's just it's just a thing. So yeah. I
was going to talk to you about your purpose and stuff, but you kind of brought it up before. It is difficult knowing that you're doing a trade, because there isn't a huge amount of meaning in it, but I don't know. It's tricky. I know you're not like saving the world, but you are creating and doing your best and providing for your family and stuff. I know what you mean, though. You're thinking like, is that enough? So
definitely. Like, and it's probably one of the biggest things I struggle with, I would say, in whether I keep doing what I'm doing, what I'm doing rather, is just, I just go, what am I doing? Especially when you have days when you're dealing with horrible people. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I don't need to be here for this. I know.
It's just I mean, luckily I've gotten rid of bad customers, just because I say, because I'm soft, I'm not that great with conflict, and so not only that, because I'm so passionate about giving somebody what they paid for, because I just get so sick of going to a company, buying something, you don't get what you pay for, or if something's wrong, they won't fix it or whatever, I hate that way of thinking. For me, I'd rather lose money on the job. I'd rather buy all the garments again and redo it, no questions asked, if it's a mistake of our own, but sometimes stuff isn't your mistake.
I know,
it's a customer's mistake, or it's, do you know what I mean? Or like flipping heck, yesterday I spent my entire morning with DPD trying to sort out a flipping order that was meant to be going to a band on tour, and it just, anyway, long story short, I just got to midday and I was just like, my brain is fried, because I've got a customer who's angry at me, and it's completely out of my hands. I'm doing everything I possibly can, and just it's stuff like that you just go, oh man, these are the days I want to walk away, But,
I know. It's because, like, a colder person who doesn't give a shit, to the customer, they're getting the same result, but you're so passionate and trying to push it through, there might not be anything you can do about it. But it's hard to not expend energy on that type of thing, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Bring it home and stop bringing it home. But that's a really hard thing to do.
It's just, it is. People always say, oh, just take some time off. And you're like, it's just not.
Have you seen that box of shit?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tricky.
You know, and you know, obviously it could be a high pressure environment. We do a lot of fast turnaround stuff. So we do a lot of same day work. So if it comes in before 8:30 in the morning, we've got to ship it by 4 o'clock that afternoon.
Wow.
So we have to prep the artwork, make the screens, get it on press,
That's
print the job.
insane. How are you doing that?
Just systems. We've just over time just worked on it. Yeah, it's amazing how quick you can actually get stuff out the door. Because I speak to a lot of printers and they're like, it takes 3 weeks, and I'm like, 3 weeks? If something's on our board for more than 3 days, I'm itching. Like, I'm like, you know, so yeah, a lot of same day, a lot of next day, and a lot of 3-day turnaround stuff. So,
who's demanding same day? Who's doing that?
we've just got a couple of contract clients who sell to end users who might buy 100 tote bags or whatever, and they pay extra for a fast turnaround. So same day shipping will be basically, for them, it's next day delivery. So but we give them up to a certain time of the day. So I think for same day orders, it has to be confirmed by, I think, for same day order. For a next day order, obviously it can be confirmed any time before the end of the day for it to go out next day. But yeah, and then we most of our clients now are middlemen. So which actually I really like, because
they're like incentivized to be drumming up business for you, really.
Yeah, and I think not only that, most of them are proper business people, you know, who are like hard ass, you know, they just go after it, they take no crap. But that's not me. You know, I just want to be the guy in the background who makes the good stuff and gets paid my share of it, you know, and that's good enough for me. So it just means, I mean, I haven't advertised for like 4 years or something, you know. I just can't be bothered with marketing and trying to sell myself to people, you know. Like I'd rather just have a few, you know, fewer clients who are going out there bringing me lots of work and are happy with how passionate I am about serving them. And then and I have great relationships with those few customers. And the great thing is you don't have to do anything. You just come in the morning, and the jobs are in the portal, and you just download them, and you just print them and send them out, you know. So yeah, and if there's an issue and it's not our fault, I no longer have to deal with the customer about it, you know. They deal with the customer, and they just tell the customer, no, this is how it is, this is
you're like, I've done this one last week.
yeah that's it, yeah.
But this one hasn't got a spelling mistake.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, so I really like that, and the fast turnaround is great. And I mean, it's good because if you have a quiet period like today, I sent all the guys home today about 3 o'clock. I've told them not to come in for the rest of the week now, because I'll still pay them, obviously. Yeah, it's Wednesday, so I've told them not to come in tomorrow, because we printed, I think the guys printed 6 or 7 jobs today. Most of it only came in yesterday and the day before, I think. I just said to them, look guys, just get these jobs out of the way, and then you can have the rest of the week off, because it's January, February now, but it's still quite quiet. I just don't see the point in getting them in to twiddle thumbs. I'd rather just go and chill. But what it means is that, you know, when things pick up and it's busy, the guys are aware that I've given them plenty of free time off, you know, in the quiet times, and they're happy to put a bit of extra time in, you know, to get caught up on the stuff when it does come in. But equally, they know if something comes in tomorrow morning and it's too big for me to just do myself, you know, I'll drop them a text and I'll be straight down. So, but yeah,
that's cool.
I mean, you know, I do like it. It just means that we don't have 3 weeks of work ahead of us, and you know, I prefer it that way, really.
I feel like I could speak to you for hours, but I'm trying. The podcast is about the 45-minute one, but I think I have to get you on again.
Past that.
I know. In like a few months, when I've done the rest of the UK, I'm going to get you on again, because you're like, I don't think you realize you're just like a big well of information, but you probably like kept it all in your head for a long time. You haven't had anyone to chat shit about with.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know, man. There's some sick printers out there that I look at and I'm like, man, these guys really know this stuff.
Who would you want to see on? Like, who are you like?
Who would I be interested? Monster Press, Monster Press.
I know Monster Press. I've asked him, but he said, "Oh, I don't know. He's a bit shy or something, or he wants to see how it goes."
He's
But
really
I'll get him
cool.
on. I will get him on.
So
I'll just
those guys have produced amazing work for a long time. So I definitely think that the industry can learn a lot from those guys. Definitely.
I'll send this message to them as a little video thing.
Yeah. Do it. Who else? Who was I looking at? I noticed the other day. Denver Print House, was it? Another one. I don't know how you say it. Subcooler or something like that.
I don't know that one. I'll have to look it up. Subcooler.
Let's see how they're spelled.
It took me bloody ages to figure out how Venus Sangre is spelled.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Subcooler, SUBUCOOLA. They those guys use water-based as well. Mountain screen printing. Those guys are all water-based. In fact, those over in America, they used only virus for a long time, so they really know this stuff with virus. Like I feel like a lot of time. I mean, I guess with social media, you can look at what people are posting and just it makes everybody's life look insanely amazing, doesn't it? And so, but yeah, some of those guys, the stuff I see looks really cool.
Cool. You're just making me double down on getting Monster Press on. I always had awesome merch as well. The guy who. Yeah. So he's kind of like thinking about it as well. He might come on in a few weeks, but I had his interview all lined up, and I felt like his business was so big that he just would not bother. So yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be interesting. Yeah, I know he's not like
definitely
a screen printer like us, but he's kind of gone. Yeah, he's gone in a completely different direction. But
I mean, they do everything, don't they? But I think. Is it for screen printers? This it's literally just and I guess I mean for me I think then I would say I'm mostly interested in the people who are
in the trenches.
who are just doing really good stuff. I'm trying to think who else I speak to, but I don't know if I think of any. I'll let you know anyway. Next time.
Sorry, go on.
Just chat to screen printers every day because they're always replying to your posts and stuff, and you just some stuff I'm doing for the first, like this week we printed on polyester shirts for the first time with Magna over this last week. I've never done that before, but I've been back and forth with a few other printers who were thinking about it as well and not yet tried it, I just decided I'll just buy some black blockers, see how it goes. I am never ever going to print polyester with plastisol ever again. Like it was so easy, so fast, so bright, and so soft. But
that is relatively new technology, like in the scheme of it, though, having that type of stuff available to us. But I think there's a lot of innovations with water-based that we all are just getting pulled into anyway. So I like that we're all chatting to each other more as well.
Oh, definitely. But I think what would be interesting as well is if you manage to get some of these manufacturers on who manufacture like MHM, Rock, whatever, and see. Obviously, they're all salesmen and they're all like everybody's press is the best, But it'd be interesting to see their.
What I could get is just say it's just me and Rock, and then like invite MHM on at the same time, and then we'll all have like just like spring it on them, and then they're all like really awkward. We just watch them scram against each other, trying not to bring each other down, but also like bringing each other down, slapping on each other.
100%, man. It would be interesting.
I will. But even like definitely. Tony Palmer, I want on as well.
Tony Palmer is sick. We've had Tony Palmer down here. I'm always talking to Tony all the time. Like he's just out and about. He just knows his stuff. Like he's just anything that you are stuck with, he'll always have some sort of answer to. He's great. He's great. He always makes time to reply and But and I think because he's becoming as well, he's like so well known all around the world, I guess, with you know, people just getting him into the shops and spending the day with them. And
Mhm.
he's just like a big bucket of knowledge. Like,
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm going to send you a shirt, and I like your I no one's sent me a cartoon yet, but yeah, that would be cool to put that as a little thumbnail in a few weeks, and I'll get it all over to you.
yeah,
Thank you
wicked.
very
Sounds
much
good.
for coming on.
No worries.
Appreciate
Do it
it. I'll
again.
have to get you back on. Okay. All right.
Let me know.
Cheers. Thank
Ta-da.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye.